Okay, welcome back in. Now we're going to be reviewing all of Thursday's action from the NHL. There were a grand total of 11 games, so this video might take a little while. Starting with the team that I cheer for and I bleed for, the Montreal Canadiens. They were continuing their Western road trip after losing to Calgary and Edmonton. They're hoping to bounce back against the Red Hot Canucks, but it wouldn't be easy to say the least. Alrighty, let's dive into this matchup. So Zadorov would kick things off in the first period with 4 minutes and 22 seconds to go on the clock. For Zadorov, that'd be his fifth goal of the year from Mikheyev and Lindholm. He would strike yet again late in that second period, just 27 seconds to go on the clock. That'd be his second goal of the game, his sixth of the year from Mikheyev and Sam Laverty. After 20 minutes of play, the Canucks had a 2-0 lead. In the second period, late in that second period, I should say, Garland would strike, getting his 15th of the year from Bluegar. For Garland, that'd be his 15th of the year, and that will happen with 1 minute and 46 seconds to go on the clock. Slavkovsky would finally get the Montreal Canadiens on the board, getting his 15th of the year from Cole Caulfield, and that happened with just under 1 minute to go on the clock, 53 seconds to be exact. So after 40 minutes of play, the Canucks had a 3-1 lead. In the third period, Aman would score for the Canucks, increasingly to 4-1. For Aman, that'd be his third of the year from Myers, and also assisted by Pad Kolzin, if I'm pronouncing that name correctly. So 4-1 would be the final score in favor of the Canucks. So with the win, Vancouver is sitting at 44-18-8, still sitting first in that Pacific Division. And after yet another loss, the Habs are 25-32-12. Man, where's Carey Price when you need him? Alrighty. Okay. Now we're off to Boston. We have the Bruins. They're taking on the New York Rangers. So both these teams, leaders in their respective divisions, and you imagine that these two met up in the postseason, it would obviously have to be an Eastern Conference matchup, Eastern Conference final matchup, but I think that would be one hell of a series. In the first, DeBrusk would kick things off for the Bruins. 8 minutes and 4 seconds in that frame. For DeBrusk, that was 18th of the year from Frederick and Brazeau. After 20 minutes of play, the Bruins had a 1-0 lead. In the second period, Panarin would tie the game up 7 minutes and 58 seconds into that frame. For Panarin, that'd be his 39th goal of the year from Schneider and Lafreniere. Panarin would then strike yet again, getting his second goal of the game, his 40th of the season, with 35 seconds to go on the clock, giving the Rangers a 2-1 lead. In the third period, Brazeau would get his fourth goal of the year, tying the game up at 3 minutes and 17 seconds in that frame, assisted by Marchand and Boqvist. Adam Fox would score 40 seconds after that goal, getting the Rangers back the lead. For Fox, that'd be his 13th goal of the year from Gustafsson and Zibanejad. Zibanejad would strike with over 2 minutes remaining on the clock, getting his 23rd of the year from Kreider and Trocheck. And then Panarin would ice the game, getting a natural hat trick. For Panarin, that'll be his 41st goal of the year from Fox. And that goal happened with just 52 seconds to go on the clock, giving the Rangers a 5-2 victory over the Bruins. So with that, the Rangers are sitting 46-20-4, again still first in their division. And despite the loss, the Bruins are still first in the Atlantic Division with a record of 41-15-5. Okay, the next matchup took place in Carolina. We had the second and third seed duking it out in the Metropolitan Division. So this could easily be a first-round matchup, if I'm going to be completely honest. I know there still are about 10 games or so roughly for both squads, but as I said, these are the second and third place teams in that division. And every year, the second and third place teams play each other. Anyways, enough rambling on. So there's no scoring in the first. Martinic would kick things off for the Hurricanes in the second period. For Martinic, that'd be his 13th goal of the year from Nietzsche's and Pesky. Lawton would tie the game up 4 minutes and 21 seconds in that frame, getting his 12th of the year from Farabee and Brink. Chatfield would break the tie with over 8 minutes to go, or over 9 minutes to go on the clock. 9 minutes and 17 seconds to be exact. For Chatfield, that'd be his 8th of the year from Aho and Orlov. So the Hurricanes had a 2-1 lead heading into the third period. Konechny would tie the game up over halfway through that third For connecting, that'd be his 28th goal of the season from Frost and Owen Tippett. We would need overtime to settle this one. Seth Jarvis would get the game-winning goal, being the hero for the Hurricanes. For Jarvis, that would be his 26th goal of the season, assisted by Brent Burns. And that goal happened 1:28 in the extra frame. So with the victory, the Hurricanes are 44-20-6. Again, still second in that division. And after the loss, the Flyers are still third in that division with a record of 35-26-9. Alrighty, now we're off to the Motor City, where we have the Red Wings as the host team taking on the New York Islanders. Okay, let's take a look and see how this game went. So there's no scoring in the first. We have to jump ahead to the second period. Over halfway through that period, 8 minutes and 45 seconds remaining, Fisher would strike, giving the Red Wings a 1-0 lead. For Fisher, that'd be his 5th of the season from Rasmussen and Seider. Mike Riley would tie the game up, 6 minutes and 35 seconds to go. For Riley, that'd be his 5th goal of the year from McLean and Cizikas. Kopp would give the Red Wings a 2-1 lead with exactly 4 minutes to go on the clock, getting his 11th of the season from Fisher and Sherratt. Dylan Larkin would strike late in that second period, just 1 minute and 52 seconds to go. For Larkin, that'd be his 27th goal of the season, assisted by DeBrincat. The Red Wings had a 3-1 lead heading into the third. Kopp would get his second goal of the game, increasing the lead to 4-1, 5 minutes and 12 seconds into that frame. For Kopp, that'd be his 12th of the year from Fisher and Rasmussen. Patrick Kane would give the Red Wings a 5-1 lead, 6 minutes and 22 seconds into that frame. For Kane, that'd be his 16th goal of the season from DeBrincat and Shane Gothisber. Peugeot would cut the deficit to 5-2, a power play goal at 9.5 minutes into that frame. For Peugeot, that'd be his 9th goal of the year, assisted by Pollock and Engvall. Barzal would cut the deficit to 5-3, 8 minutes and 40 seconds to go on the clock. For Barzal, that'd be his 21st goal of the year from Pelch and Anders Lee. Dylan Larkin would increase lead to 6-3, getting his second goal of the game, his 28th of the year, from assisted by Lucas Raymond. So 6-3 would be the final score in favor of the Red Wings. With that, they are sitting at 36-28-6. They have the number 2 wildcard spot after that victory. And as for the Islanders, 29-25-15 is where they stand at the end of regulation. All right, now we're off to New Jersey, where we have the Devils as the host team taking on the Winnipeg Jets. Alrighty, let's dive into this one. So there's no scoring in the first. Jack Hughes would kick things off exactly 9 minutes into that second period, getting his 22nd goal of the year from Hischier and his brother Luke. Nick Ehlers would tie the game up with 3 minutes and 13 seconds to go on the clock. For Ehlers, that'd be his 21st goal of the year from Scheifele and DeMello. After 40 minutes of play, we were all tied up at 1. Hischier would give the Devils a 2-1 lead, 6 minutes into that frame. For Hischier, that'd be his 23rd goal of the year from Meyer and Luke Hughes. Jack Hughes would strike yet again with a power play goal of his own, getting his 23rd of the season from Meyer and his brother Luke. And that goal happened with 8 minutes and 8 seconds to go on the clock. Meyer would increase the lead to 4-1, getting his 22nd goal of the year from Haller and Hischier, and that goal happened with just 49 seconds to go in the game. So the Devils would get a 4-1 victory over the Winnipeg Jets. So with the win, the Devils are 34-32-4. And despite the loss, the Winnipeg Jets are 44-20-5. They are currently sitting third in that Central Division. Okay. The next matchup took place in Ottawa, where we have the Senators as the host team taking on the St. Louis Blues. Okay. Let's take a gander and see just how this game went and who won. So in the first, Brandon Saad would kick things off with 8 minutes and 6 seconds to go on the clock. For Saad, that'd be his 21st goal of the year from Kyrou and Kessel. Parayko would increase the lead to 2-0 with 5 minutes and 3 seconds to go on the clock. For Parayko, that'd be his 10th goal of the year from Kyrou and Saad. So after 20 minutes of play, the Blues had a 2-0 lead. Kastelik would get the Senators on the board 4 minutes and 34 seconds into the frame. For Kastelik, that'd be his 4th goal of the season, assisted by Joseph. Jake Neighbors would score just under 7 minutes to go in the period, 6 minutes and 49 seconds to be exact. For Neighbors, that'd be his 23rd goal of the year, giving the Blues a 3-1 lead heading into the 3rd period. Kubalik would cut the deficit to 3-2, roughly 2 minutes into that 3rd period. For Kubalik, that'd be his 11th goal of the year, assisted by Pinto and Giroux. Jordan Kyrou would increase the lead to 4-2, getting his 22nd goal of the year from Torpachenko and Bushnevich, 5 minutes and 43 seconds in the frame. Jake Neighbors would strike with 1.5 minutes to go, getting his 2nd goal of the game, his 24th of the season, giving the Blues a 5-2 lead, and that's where we would stand at the end of regulation. So with the win, St. Louis is sitting at 37-30-3, still attempting to chase Vegas for that last wildcard spot. And as for the Ottawa Senators, 28-36-4, it's now looking like it's going to be 7 straight seasons with no postseason action in the nation's capital. Alrighty, the next one took place in Florida, where we had the Panthers. They were playing host to the Nashville Predators, who have been red hot, by the way. I'm just going to say the Predators on that note. So in the first, Nyquist would kick things off with just 2 minutes and 13 seconds to go on the clock. For Nyquist, that'd be his 19th goal of the year from Forsberg and Ryan O'Reilly. In the 2nd period, Philip Forsberg would get on the goal score sheet himself. For Forsberg, that'd be his 37th goal of the year from Barry and Yossi, a power play goal to note. In the 3rd period, just the 1 goal to report, and that was Forsberg striking yet again, getting his 2nd goal of the game, his 38th of the season from Nyquist and Ryan O'Reilly, and that goal happened with 5 minutes and 41 seconds to go on the clock. So the Predators would leave Florida with a 3-0 shutout victory. With that, Nashville is sitting at 41-25-4. They still have the number 1 wildcard spot locked in place. And despite the loss, the Panthers are 45-20-4. They currently are sitting 2nd in the Atlantic Division. All right, now we're off to Edmonton, where we have the Oilers playing against the Buffalo Sabres. In the first period, Peterka would kick things off for the Buffalo Sabres, getting his 22nd goal of the season, assisted by Alex Tuch and Tage Thompson. Olofsson would strike late in that first period, getting his 7th goal of the year from Bowen Byram and Rusek. That goal happened with 3 minutes and 26 seconds to go on the clock. The Oilers would get a late power play, and Draisaitl would strike, getting his 35th goal of the year from Nugent Hopkins and Evan Bouchard, cutting the deficit to 2-1 after 20 minutes of play. In the 2nd period, Ekholm would tie the game up, getting his 6th of the season from McDavid and Bouchard, 4 minutes and 26 seconds in that frame. Peterka would strike, giving the Sabres a 3-2 lead with just over 3 minutes to go on the clock. For Peterka, that'd be his 23rd goal of the season, assisted by Clifton. Zach Hyman would tie the game up with just under a minute to go, 48 seconds to be exact. For Hyman, that'd be his 47th goal of the year from Ekholm and Connor McDavid. So we were all tied up at 3 heading into the 3rd period. And in the 3rd period, it was just an onslaught of goals just from one team, starting with Nurse, giving the Oilers a 4-3 lead. For Nurse, that'd be his 9th of the season, assisted by Stetcher. Ekholm would then strike again, getting his 2nd goal of the game, his 7th of the year from Draisaitl and McDavid, 5 minutes and 40 seconds in that frame. Zach Hyman would increase lead to 6-3, getting his 48th goal of the year from McDavid and Draisaitl, and that goal happened with 4 minutes and 42 seconds to go on the clock. Ryan McLeod would score with just over 3 minutes remaining on that clock. For McLeod, that'd be his 12th goal of the year from Connor Brown. And speaking of Connor Brown, he'd get a late garbage goal, giving them the Oilers a 8-3 lead. For Brown, that'd be his 2nd goal of the season from Carrick and Cody Ceci, and that goal happened with just 9 seconds to go on the clock. So the Oilers get a huge 8-3 victory over the Buffalo Sabres. With that, they're 42-21-4, still sitting 2nd in that Pacific Division. As for the Sabres, 33-33-5 is where they stand at the end of this matchup. Alrighty, staying in the Pacific Division, we have the Anaheim Ducks, and they're playing against Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks. So there's no scoring in the first. In In the second period, Killorn would kick things off for the Ducks, getting his 13th goal of the year from Lindstrom and Vakanainen. Leeson would get his 11th goal of the season, increasing the lead to 2-0, 9 minutes and 34 seconds in that frame, assisted by Myers and Mintyukov. Killorn would strike again in that same frame, getting his 14th of the season from Leeson and Zellweger. And that goal happened with 1 minute and 34 seconds to go on the clock. So after 20 minutes, after 2 periods of play, I should say, the Ducks had a 3-0 lead. Frank Vatrano would give the Ducks a 4-0 lead, getting a power play goal roughly 10.5 minutes into that period, or 9.5 minutes to go on the clock. For Vatrano, that'd be his 30th goal of the season from Fowler and Troy Terry. So 4-0 is where we stand at the end of this game. With the win, the Ducks are 24, 43-3, and the Blackhawks 19, 46, and 5. Alrighty, we have 2 more games to review from Thursday's action. The next one, again, staying in the Pacific Division, as we have the Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Seattle Kraken. Okay, see how this game went. So in the first, Jack Eichel would kick things off for the Vegas Golden Knights, getting his 22nd goal of the season from Marchessault and McNabb. There was no scoring in the second, if you jump ahead to the third period. Jaden Schwartz would tie the game up, getting his 12th of the year from Evans and Bjorkstrad, and that goal happened with 6.5 minutes to go on the clock. Kolster would score with just 1 minute and 20 seconds to go, giving the Vegas Golden Knights a 2-1 lead at that point. For Kolster, that'd be his 6th goal of the season from Howden and Nick Waugh. Stevenson would add a late insurance goal, a power play goal, getting his 15th goal of the season from Brandon McNabb. So 3-1 would be the final in this matchup. With the victory, the Vegas Golden Knights are sitting at 37, 25, and 7. They have the number 2 wildcard spot in their pocket as we speak. And as for the Seattle Kraken, 28, 27, 13 is where they stand at the end of this matchup. Alrighty, the last game from Thursday took place in San Jose. So again, staying in the Pacific Division, and they were taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. So Anthony Duclair playing against his former team. In the first period, Nick Paul would kick things off for the Lightning, getting his 19th goal of the year from Victor Hedman and Kucherov. 4 minutes and 53 seconds in that frame. Eklund would tie the game up for the Sharks, getting his 11th goal of the season, assisted by Joey McDonald. 7 minutes and 21 seconds in that frame. There was no scoring in the second. In the third, Brendan Point would give the Lightning a 2-1 lead, a power play goal, just 34 seconds into that frame. For Point, that'll be his 39th goal of the year from Kucherov and Stamkos. Kind of funny how I talked about Duclair being traded to the Lightning, playing against his former team, as he would strike against the Sharks, getting his 20th of the year from Kucherov and Braden Point. 6 minutes and 50 seconds to go. So 6 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock. Braden Point would increase the lead to 4-1, getting his 2nd goal of the game, his 40th of the season. Or did he get a hat trick? No, just his 2nd goal of the game. Giving the Lightning a 4-1 lead with just under 6 minutes to go on the clock. For Point, that'll be his 40th of the season from Kucherov and Anthony Duclair. So Duclair had a 2-point game against his former team. So with the victory, the Lightning are sitting at 38, 25, and 6. They currently have the number 1 wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference. And as for the San Jose Sharks, after the loss, 16, 46, and 7 is their record. All right, that takes care of my recap from Thursday's action of the NHL. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, please feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. Until next time, take care.